Girls, what's something men shouldn't be insecure about? Viewer edition. Story 1. Biggest load of video on this site. Chicks will say it doesn't matter, but toss it back in your face. This stuff sounds like it's coming from people who have never had a relationship with another person. Not caring about someone else's physical appearance is a lie, and is another way of pretending to say you have no standards. It goes so much further than this, but I believe people will listen to some of this stuff and use it to cope with all of their flaws, and not the one or two things they choose to apply it to. It has to be a very small number of women who want a submissive, physically and emotionally weak, and unmotivated guy to baby and tie themselves to, because there is always someone who does want something. For the younger men watching this, the keys to it are, number 1, hygiene is paramount. Don't reek. Number 2, make an effort to improve yourself before and after getting the girl. Number 3, if your self-improvement causes hostility from the girl, she is likely not the one for you. Try to talk it out. If it continues, drop her. Number 4, a weapon is useless if the hand that wields it is too. Your pee-pee is a powerful weapon, regardless, mostly, of size, so long as you use it properly. Number 5, have something you're good at and can speak about at length. A woman with no hobbies is beyond boring, and the same applies for men. Cultivate a hobby and become proficient. No, video games don't count. Beer and TV do not count. Art, music, sports. Playing, not simply watching. The study of a particular subject. History, science, whatever. Those kinds of things. It gives you something fun to do and makes you interested. I cannot overstate the importance of this. Going to interject here real quick and say that video games definitely do count. That's a very interesting hobby in my opinion. Number 6. Stop slouching. Smile a little. Hold eye contact for a bit instead of just slinking away. Walk like you have somewhere to be. Fake the confidence until you suddenly realize one day that you now feel it. Number 7, make some kind of effort to improve physical attributes. You don't need to feel bad about being either too thin or too fat until it gets extreme, and you don't need to become Conan, but you should be able to reasonably push some weight around when the need arises. Good luck, little brothers. Don't believe the girls when they tell you most of the stuff in this video. That stuff definitely matters. It's just that your other positive attributes can outweigh the bad. Work on yourself so that your positive points shine, and eventually you'll make it. Story 2. To be honest, I'm an athletic 22-year-old guy and never had trouble with attracting girls since my teens, but only when I put on a mask of being hypermasculine, having no negative emotions, and never admitting that I have problems. The second I start trying to just slightly open up about, for example, my needs being not met, or even worse, having days when I don't have energy and want to sleep for 15 hours straight because of being overwhelmed, or about cuddling more than rough intercourse and stuff, I can visibly see her emotional connection and attraction to me fade away bit by bit. Did I mention I didn't get girls to even talk to me for prolonged periods of time until about 15, when I finally had my abs visible after 8 years of martial arts and my shoulders got wider than everybody in my class? Time to mention it now. My father pressed me into getting heavy into sports, about 4 training sessions a week, from 8 years old, and kept repeating that I will thank him later. If it wasn't for him throwing me into different sections every single day, I would be absolutely screwed. It made me hate sport, but ultimately doing exercises that I hate feels better than hating myself for being a failure as a man. Oh yeah, about dong size, I actually experimented with it. You would not believe the difference in reactions between a girl feeling me inside her prior to seeing it in detail and the opposite. My 16 centimeters doesn't look impressive, even though they are technically enough to please about 90% of women on the planet, and I got the phrase, "Wow, it doesn't seem as big as it feels," way more times than I wanted to. And more on this, in my experience, only the girls whom you please without caring about your own satisfaction call you back. I now date a fantastic girl, my dream type. But every time we tried my kinks in bed, I felt very negative feedback. She doesn't like it, does it only for me and not for herself, and generally wants it to be over. The worst is when she sees that I'm bugged with something or in a bad mood in general and starts doing it just for me to feel better, even though she doesn't want it. Makes me want to cry. I don't know why I'm writing this, maybe just to say it out loud somewhere for living people to hear, not just in my diary. Story 3. The funniest dichotomy is that, across the board, confidence is considered the most desired trait. Makes sense, people want to hang around people who are fun and bring up the mood instead of dragging it down. But the irony is, sometimes people can't help but feel unconfident every now and then, and when they do, people like being around them less, so they feel less confident because they keep losing people, making a downward spiral. Saying this as an introvert, someone who actually likes being left to their own devices often. For all I hear about, it doesn't matter how often you're rejected, screw everyone, just be confident in you. It fails to recognize that people are what stabilize each other. Edit and never say, if you keep getting rejected, it's obviously a problem with you. Even when it's true, it just makes things worse, and kind of proves the downward cycle problem. Especially when the advice is love yourself, only for that same person to say, then yourself must not be good enough, you are doomed to fail. Try as we might, we are social creatures, and being alone too much can do some bad things to the head. Sometimes people get left behind one too many, and naturally, it hurts. It's like expecting someone who just broke their arm from a fall to climb their way out. That is, it might be possible, but making that default expectation isn't smart. I say the key is to build solid support structures, people who will stick by you and pick you up in those low points, or just a place where you feel safe, or a hobby you feel confident in your skills on. A safety net so that no matter how many times you're knocked down, you won't break anything and be able to climb back up. Story 4. Hate all this, don't be ashamed of your body BS. Yes, some women don't want an aesthetic physique on their guy. However, it's stupid to say not to worry about it. If you had two guys who had exactly the same height, personality, income, and facial appearance, with the only difference being one is fat and the other has a lean, muscular physique, the guy who evidently works out and takes care of himself will be chosen by more women. That's a fact, and exceptions don't disregard the rule. You should never exercise purely for women anyway. It's a shame for a man or woman to grow old without seeing the strength of which his body is capable. Do it for yourself. Use women as motivation, obviously, as after all, the guy who has a better physique will always be chosen more. Exceptions don't disregard the rule. If you're watching videos like this to justify your ineptability to stick to a diet for just 2 years to either gain muscle or lose weight, you have the wrong idea. Yes, you can still get women without abs, but you will have access to higher quality women if you do. That's the difference. If you're skinny or overweight and you're actively trying to change that, which everyone should be doing if they're within either situation, as it is a disgrace to yourself and those around you to be either. Do not be ashamed of how you look. On the other hand, if you're coping and sitting at home all day eating poopy food or eating nothing at all, as well as not lifting weights and hitting cardio, you should be ashamed. Be your best self by starting to work out and eat better. It is your duty to do so. Story 5. This is all some really horrible advice. Women are the first ones to look down on a man that does anything she sees as remotely feminine. There was a lesbian woman that wanted to pretend to be a man to see what it was like to be a man. She was a feminist and she was expecting that it would be easy being a man. Instead, she found women were extremely judgmental if any of her body movements were even remotely feminine. She was treated so badly by women as a man that it caused her severe trauma and could find no emotional support as a man. She wrote a book called Self-Made Man, talking about it, if anyone is interested. The experience caused her to start self-harming, and years later, she ended up ending her own life. Her demise has been attributed to the trauma she received as her time pretending to be a man. I have literally seen several guys mocked and ridiculed by a room full of people because he admitted he was afraid to talk about his feelings, and they began mocking him over feeling that way, thereby proving he had good reason to fear talking about his feelings. I can't even use chapstick without a woman making fun of me. Men have very good reasons for the insecurities they end up with. Most women will say a man can open up to her. The moment he does, she will dump him. On the flip side, a woman that actually would stick by him and support him is wife material. Unfortunately, those women are very hard to find. Story 6. I'm going to come at these from my perspective, and some of the repeats are just, like, for starters, I don't moan. That's not something I hide. It's just not what happens. You hear us gasp. That's not stifling a moan. That is our entire body spasming and preventing us from breathing for a moment, so we are desperately attempting to rend breath from ecstasy. Second, we are not being emotional because we are told it's bad, at least I'm not. We are not emotional because we are not emotional, at least not in the way we're supposed to be. I won't cry at a funeral, I won't freak out at a breakup, but I was freaking bawling watching Fred Claus, and no, it doesn't make sense. You want to see your man emotional? Put on Saving Private Ryan, or better yet, that episode of Hellsing Ultimate where the Sir Shelby M. Penwood sacrificed himself for queer and country. That one messes me up every time. I'm insecure about my feminine side, not because I think I'd be rejected, but because I'm single right now, and I don't put off a lot of straight signals. Like the last time I was publicly excited about something were some cute pillows I bought. Like, I don't think people will hate me, but I worry potential partners will be like, oh, he must be gay, and just never look at me in a romantic way. Or worse, try and set me up on a date. Beards have nothing to do with anyone else. We are insecure about them because from a young age, we all decide what type of facial hair we will have once we can grow it. And when we realize some people just can't, it's heart-wrenching. Story 7. For y'all's being like, this ain't actually real, writing is different from words, I have a question for you. Would you be fine dating someone who has these outrageous expectations, forcing you to hide your emotions and crap? No. If you have to force yourself into a mold to be with someone, that's not the right person for you. You're viewing a partner as an object in a sense. You're looking for a woman who'll be with you, not because they like you, but because you're able to keep up a front that they enjoy. A romantic partner should be a friend in a sense. Like a friend, but closer in a special way. I've had friends who've seriously debated telling someone they liked them because they were worried if they said no, it'd ruin their friendship. I remember one clear day, he asked me if he should, I convinced him yes, and the next time I saw him, he was shaking from happiness. She felt the same way. They had been friends for about 2 years. They knew each other well, and both valued their friendship. It sounds like something straight out of a high school drama, but it was very eye-opening to me. They genuinely loved each other. They didn't put up a front to get each other's love. They didn't meet just to date. They were just two clowns who met because my friend had overheard a conversation and jumped in. Story 8. That's all fine and dandy to say, but it's quite obvious that a pretty good chunk of women do not feel the same way and look at men who get emotional in any way as weak, pathetic, and pitiful. Men also shame other men for not being men enough, but honestly, I would claim, without proof sadly, that the majority of shaming comes from women, not men anymore. Basically, every guy I know genuinely cares about a dude's mental state. If that guy opens up, this compares to the amount of times guys who told me that as soon as they opened up about themselves to women, they would sooner or later get shamed, or it was used against them, or that suddenly any kind of romantic avenue was basically blocked. Or in some cases, girlfriends would just break off the relationship because he wasn't the same man anymore to her. I genuinely believe there are good women out there who care about the mental health of men, but the amount of women who still only have this extremely shallow, narrow-minded view on men's emotions are far too quick to judge and completely destroy a man's ability to trust a woman with his emotions. The number of them is still staggering. Crazy how much our new generation cares about mental health, except when it's about men. Men's mental health, despite the effort by some, or even many, to make it a serious topic, is still often the butt of the joke in many regards, and never taken seriously. Story 9. The best lesson I got, it's not about accepting your insecurities, losing extra weight, or gaining muscles, allowing emotions to flow. It's about self-improvement in all those areas. Are you a skinny guy? Put some effort into being at least fit and healthy. Are you struggling with money? Put in the work and hours. And most importantly, be educated rather than smart. This is what makes the difference when talking to a girl. It's different when you two are having a debate in a friendly, open way. Communication is a skill, and it's strongly linked to your education. So educate yourselves, mind your feelings, not too much or too less exposure, and improve overall in the areas you're lacking. I would rather hear that I shouldn't be insecure about my emotions, including aggression or rage. I'm a man, and all these words are nice, but also are empty words, honestly. Reality is different. Also, men are not the same as women, and many of us won't go well without being supported all the time, no matter what. Seriously, we need some expectations. We need challenges, and we need to show our masculinity sometimes. Some men need emotional support, but some also need acceptance of our different nature, which is nowadays called toxic masculinity. Story 10. Guys, if you have a girlfriend or a wife, you don't absolutely have to tell them when they're wrong. Don't humiliate them, but be firm and don't back down. That's called having a spine, and she will fall head over heels for you. It scared the living heck out of me for the first 7 years. Every time I did it and thought to myself, well, she might leave. Key point, grow a spine. Also, I was one of the highly introverted nerds in high school. I'm 5'10" and have crippling social anxiety. I'm married, I have 3 kids now, and my family is about the only thing in this world that I'm proud of. Here's the thing, if you can control it, do so. For example, I stayed active and worked my butt off to get 6-pack abs, swam up rivers all summer long, and did karate to learn how to deal with threats. I'm now bald, still have 6-pack abs because I learned to enjoy heavy labor and stay active. As I got older, I stopped playing video games because I wanted to. I chose to prioritize my family. Life changes depending on the phase you're in. Also, now my wife told me in high school that I was going to prom with her. I told her no at least a dozen times. I'm glad I went. Story 11. I'm 20 years old, skinny, 164 centimeters tall, short stack with acne and average PP. But somehow I still managed to not only touch some grass, but also a woman. I'm not ideal, so not everyone will like me, and I'm okay with that. If someone tries to hurt my feelings by making me feel insecure, I would say, do it. I can roast myself better than you can roast a chicken, and even in that I'm better than you. I have enough self-respect and confidence to accept who I am and start working with what I have. I'm an open and honest person with a good sense of humor and a baggage of stories from my life. Enough for my own stand-up show. That's why people are drawn to me. The conclusion is very simple. Before you look for your second half, you need to first become whole. I'm a guy, but I feel it applies. Being under or overweight, I'm 5'3", 250 pounds, can be insecure about at least the weight and have gotten the attention of a girl who is, conventionally speaking, more attractive than I am. Personal note, I'm not saying I'm unattractive, just that I have a husky build. Also, I know a guy who went bald by 24. I'm 27. Still not a bad-looking guy. Story 12. Believe it or not, but not everyone gets acne. I didn't get it. I didn't even know about it until a girl asked me what I did to have my face so smooth and get rid of pimples. And I was like, what do you mean? I didn't use anything. I never had acne. And she replied, nah, you're lying. So I replied, I'm telling the truth. I didn't have those, nor do I use any products. Like I'm kidding, the same soap I use to wash my balls is the same one I use to wash my face. It was only a few days ago that I realized why I never got those. My family used a lot of coconuts to cook with, and so I eat a lot and even used coconut oil, even though I hated oil, and I'm guessing that helps in keeping your skin smooth. And so that's probably why I never knew about acne, because I never had them. Neither does my little brother. But he didn't use coconut as much as me, so maybe the genetics, who knows. Or it's because I didn't eat sweets, because I can't handle too much sweets. It makes me get sick to my stomach. Sometimes I go months without sweets because I never get the urge to eat them. Story 13. A bit of advice: if you're dating someone who uses your insecurities to belittle and degrade you in an argument, leave the relationship. If enough people begin to leave relationships when this happens, the more people will stop using insecurities as an insult because they will know that they will be single and no one else will continue to date them. If you want to shift how men are treated on a cultural and societal level, you have to put in the emotional and mental work to accept and understand that this isn't a problem, it's a problem, and you are not obligated to stay in that relationship. Keep being your vulnerable self until you come across someone who accepts that you sing in the shower, that you adore kittens, that you cry. Bonus, if you don't know how to do that, then a therapist can help develop the skills to become less insecure, depressed, and anxious about being a human being. Also remember that it is your responsibility to manage your emotions in a healthy way, not your partner's. Story 14. It's true that women don't like men showing emotions this much. I think a lot who say they like it. Just imagine a cliché, tall, protective guy showing a bit of a teardrop on their wedding day and keeping his composure because he provides, not someone crying big tears for minutes because he's actually sad. A woman crying might attract men who don't want to comfort her. A man crying might have women comforting him, but he will most likely be disqualified and look weird. How is he going to look after me if he can't manage, contain, or repress his emotions? That being said, I prefer 10 times being single and doing what I want with my emotions. Nice guys are entitled buttholes, but they are a bit right about women saying they want one thing and actually wanting something else in real life. Story 15. You guys, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this, but in my opinion, chasing this modern woman is a waste of time, because all they want is status, wealth, and to be maintained. They're actually acting like men, or more like they're being too masculine, and we men don't like that stuff. We deal with other men on a daily basis. I honestly made peace with myself, and I will never be in a relationship. I enjoy my free state of mind too much. No emotional baggage, no domestic violence, and stuff like that. I know that there are independent women out there, and with women with traditional values, but they're rare. We live in a society that the standards of beauty and love is becoming shallow and empty. Just another money-making scam. And with social media twisting the minds of young people into thinking that's what society is about, I'm genuinely scared for the future, because if children are the future, we're screwed. Story 16. Dong size doesn't matter. Anything above 8 inches can actually hurt. Yeah, that's like the 99th percentile. Funny how it's always like, average is fine, or you can make up for small ones with good technique, but nobody ever explicitly likes small ones. No girl ever excitedly gossips about her new boyfriend's small wiener. Of course, a decent woman will not choose a man on this basis alone, but if we're talking about a great guy who also happens to be blessed down there, you better believe his girl will be very happy. This is what I've heard women say every time, which isn't a statistically significant sample, of course, but I also find it unlikely that these dozen women would all have larger vaginas. It's just one of those things in life that's really unfair, and nobody can do anything about it, but it's real, and it's just how it is. Hang in there, my small dong brothers. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.